Hey, good morning everybody. March 8th, location St. Petersburg, Florida, and in a marina, and I'm grateful for that. So there's several reasons for that. Okay, first, I have a family event coming up in a few weeks, and I really kind of need to be here, and I kind of really need a place to live while I'm waiting for the event. Two, this is a great place to get work done on the boat, to do it myself if possible. There's a lot of suppliers, and anything I might need, I know I can get here. In the St. Pete area, there's also sail makers, sail repair people, and used sail dealers. So I can do some business and get all my sails up to snuff in just certainly inside a month or two. I'm also needing to keep the boat in a place where I can leave it if I had to, because once my girlfriend's visa comes in, I'm actually going to leave the country and go get her and bring her back. And that is something I just won't do if I'm stuck in anchor. So when you're anchoring, you save a lot of money because you don't pay anything, but it's a pain to get to shore. How do you get a sheet of plywood? How do you get deliveries? You can't do any of that easily unless you're using your dinghy, and so life gets pretty hard when you're on anchor and you're trying to do a project on the boat. So for me, part of my budget for the year is to pay for marina time, and I hate to do it, but it's kind of necessary. Okay, so that said, I moved the boat from Boca Grande up to this area over the past few days, and I'd like to chat mostly about the anchoring. So first, let's spin the camera around. We're doing this in one take, I swear. Okay, as review, upon leaving Mexico, my first landfall was at Port Charlotte, the Charlotte Harbor area. Port Charlotte is a city, Punta Gorda is a city that a lot of people know, Fort Myers and Cape Coral are down here. But I didn't go down there. I went into Charlotte Harbor. The first thing I did, because I was arriving at night, was anchor out here. And then the next morning I pulled inside the harbor and I anchored there. And then I had a choice of taking the boat up. Well, I had to take the boat up to Tampa Bay, and I had a choice. I could take the Intercoastal Waterway, which runs inside the shoreline all the way, and I didn't do that because, A, you have to motor the entire way, unless wind was just perfect and never changed, which is not going to be the case. Two, the main thing is there's no place to stop. There's no deep water anywhere along that intercoastal until you get to Sarasota Bay. And I draw 2 meters, almost 6 feet of draft on this boat, so it would be very difficult. And that would mean once I started, I could not stop until I got to Sarasota Bay. So I made the decision to go right back out into the Gulf and sail up here, even though I only have 40% of one sail remaining, but it worked out okay. So I'd like to chat real quickly about anchoring. So I was chatting with one of my old friends, and I mentioned that while I was down in Boca Grande one day, I said, no, I'm not leaving the boat today, because it's too windy, and that confused the person, because some people think, well, when you put an anchor down, man, you're good to go and you're never going to go anywhere. Well, not exactly true. So when you put an anchor down, the boat is relatively fixed in position and it should not move anywhere. But there's a lot of things that can go wrong at anchor. Many a boat has gotten in trouble because they were anchored. In Isla Mujeres in Mexico, they had very poor holding ground. The bottom was a hard, rocky bottom with a layer of sand and sometimes seagrass on top of that, and sometimes your anchor would just drag along the top of a rock surface and it wouldn't grab. And so boats drag, and so you think you're fixed at anchor and you've got your anchor out there, but it might be moving against the ground, and so there are ways to determine whether your boat is dragging. One way to do that is to get an application on your phone or your tablet that will take your GPS input and will tell you if you're dragging. Okay, so I'm in here somewhere on Boca Grande, and the question is always, when you drop an anchor, well, how do you know you're not dragging the anchor, right? How do you know? Well, these things are, you can set the anchor, into current location, and then it watches for you. And you give it a allowed distance of 30 to 40 meters, and if it goes outside of that, then beep, 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 you get the alarm. If you pay for an upgrade to the app, it can even telephone your mobile phone. So you could be ashore and this thing stays on the boat and this thing decides you're dragging anchor, then it will telephone your mobile phone and you can hot-foot it back to the boat and save the day. And I tried that the first day. Well, I didn't get the Pro app. I didn't get the telephone capability, but I used this the first day and a half, and I wasn't impressed. So I'll tell you what I actually am doing, and this might be educational for people, is I just turned on my chart plotter and I started a track. So I'll start another one in a minute here, and I've been running this for about a day and a half. That's me in the same place that the other app thinks. And this is, over the course of 30 hours, what my track has looked like. So roughly in the shape of a circle, right? And why is that? So it's because we are fixed at some point in there. Someplace in here is an anchor, probably around the center. You'd think so, but as the wind and as the tidal current shift, the boat gets carried in different places. So here's one thing that I've realized that some people aren't aware of, a very, very simple, old school way of monitoring your position. So that method involves the use of a handheld compass. This thing here, you point it out at the distance. So I'm aiming at the porta potty, and I aim and I line up the little crosshair dealies, and it tells me it's more or less south. And you do that when you anchor. So the second I drop the anchor, the first thing I do is I run back to the cockpit, of course. And what you do is you set the anchor by backing the boat up as hard as you can to get the anchor set. But before I did that, I very quickly grabbed a round of bearings using this handheld compass. And what I did, knowing in advance what I was going to shoot at, I drew a line. I aimed this compass at that tower. I aimed the compass at this green marker, and I aimed the compass at the red marker, and I realized that this green marker was right in front of me. So for 4 different locations, I very quickly shot a round of bearings. I also shot one down here, but it turned out that was not really a light. You can't see it at nighttime. So this is a line of longitude, so that's straight north. So I grabbed a round of bearings, and then I backed up the engine as hard as I could to get the anchor to set, and then you're done. And then you sit there and you just wait, and you see on the computer, if you're running a track on your navionics, it'll draw a little circle for wherever you're at, and you can see I did that a couple of times. So when I was in the Navy, we would call that doing a set of anchor bearings, or there's probably 100 words, but I realized from some of the folks I met in the Cancun area that some people don't do that at all. Some boats don't even have paper charts, which I would really struggle with. So it's interesting, as you get older, the things that I don't even think are old school are now considered old school. So apparently my method of using a handheld compass and monitoring my anchor position that way is considered old school in the face of all these apps that are out there. But apps can fail, and a handheld compass, and certainly your eyeball, doesn't fail you. So if when I was at anchor, my anchor bearings were pretty much as easy as opening the hatch and sticking my head up, looking at one side for a green light, and going to the other side, looking for the other green light, going 90 degrees and looking for the white light. And if they're all in the right spot, then that means I'm in the right spot, and that's how I did it. Well, I took the dinghy ashore a few times, and one time was to a remote beach that is not accessible by land via other means. And I had a good time. I mean, it was a little bit bouncy, I have to admit, and the boat is still very tender. And trying to load myself, groceries, and a bicycle, wow, that was a job. Yeah, that was not graceful at all, was it? Well, I've got my little extra can of two-cycle motor oil, or fuel. Got my life jacket. I always keep the oars on board. because one never knows. I have my going ashore shoes, which I now keep in the boat. Oh my God. Hey, that's good sound. Okay. That means it's gonna run. That means I can cast off with medium confidence. Okay, now I'm going to disconnect the bow. As they say. Okay, so far so good. Position on the propeller. So I've got to be able to stop the engine immediately if I think the water is too shallow. So the engine's off. Because the motor needs to tilt up, but it doesn't fucking stay. So I need to find a way, when I get close to land, to pick up the engine and keep it picked up so it's not bouncing on the skid. So for the moment, I don't mind doing this. That's why I wore the shoes. Because you might be in a place with a lot of barnacle or coral and sharp rocks, so you can't do all this barefoot. I sure can't, and I won't. So the question is, how do I rig up a device to hold the engine like in this attitude? Because it doesn't want to stay. I just have a line tied to the fuel cap at the moment. So I'm going to rig something up. So Boca Grande is a fine place, but as soon as you're tired of spending money, you need to leave. So I jumped on the boat and we headed back out to sea. And that's me rounding the channel entrance markers, and I hang a right and point north and head up the coast. That's the direction I came from. And this is what I look like after day 2. Not nearly as bad as a 7 or 8 day trip, but I'm still tired and loopy. I want ice cream and I want something sweet. I don't have anything containing sugar on board. I don't have soft drinks, I don't have chocolate, I don't have ice cream. But I do have Oreos. Good one. And I see a sailboat dead ahead. The sailboat ahead of me crossing my bow. Boom with no sail. It's turning into a rope storage rack. And when you see my foul weather gear all washed out and baking in the sun to dry, then you know I've probably been in the Gulf Stream. And you know I'm back, so I'm gonna settle in here for a little while. Yeah, a little bit noisy today. The wind has shifted to the west or the south, so the airplane traffic is going this way. So, hey, so thank you for watching, and I look forward to your comments. I really do. My only commentary is that I was a little bit down in the dumps at some portions that I shared with you in the last episode, and I'd had a rough day, and I was really tired, really hungry, sleepy, dirty, no tea, no coffee, whatever, and it was a rough time. So here's some things I'll say. Back in the old power plant days, we used to say never ever make a career decision when you're on night shift. And another friend of mine down in Cancun and Isla Mujeres, David's, told me, you know, you don't decide about your next marathon 5 minutes after you finish your existing marathon. So you rest up and you get clear-headed again, and I've done that, and there's no weakening in my resolve. I'm absolutely going to get the work done needed here and load up supplies and load my girlfriend aboard, and we're going again. And we're going to shove off. The only change really is that I need to get a hell of a lot better at choosing my sailing routes and choosing when I attempt these sailing routes. So that's a whole discipline, really, getting really smart about when is the right time to go. One clever sailor once told me, for any place you are and any place you want to get to in this planet on a boat, there's a right time and a wrong time of year to go there. You don't try the Northwest Passage north of Canada, between Canada and the North Pole. You don't try that in the wintertime. Duh. Okay? And you don't try to go from Cancun to Florida when all these winter frontal systems are blowing through. Right. You don't hang out in the Keys or, you know, in the northern part of the Caribbean during hurricane season. You know, duh. We know that. But I kind of lost sight of that when I got myself into this past trip. So that's the one big change that I need to make as a sailor. I think if I had chosen better, that I would not be buying a new mainsail this next month, and that's just the way it is. So that said, I'm rested up, shaved my face, exercising, sleeping at night, feeling pretty good, and I'm starting project work now. Gonna go after take the Genoa down tomorrow and try to get the halyard fixed. I might have to hire some help for that because that's not my strength area. You know, I've got to go look at the shivs at the top to see if I can change to a dynema or rope halyard, or I need to stick with wire rope, so we don't know that part yet. And I've got to keep working on getting the sails. The work that I had been planning to do before I even left Cancun was the galley overhaul, just getting a fridge, getting a stove, you know, things that work, and making it less ugly. You know, getting rid of those black countertops. Second is a DC electric system, you know, which you see in a lot of my videos. It just looks like some kind of Frankenstein setup, and I've got to just finish that, get that to the finish line. Potable water system has to get finished, and I want new decks on the floor of the cabin. That's what I want. That's just 2 sheets of plywood. It's not that big a deal, but it's a kind of a finishing step. When I get there, and the bilge access will be perfect at that point. So the work I'm adding to the list, of course, is the sails. New sails, used sails, I'm doing both. I'm going to get a new main. I'm going to try to buy a used main, and same with the Staysail. See what I can do so I have the sails I need to muddle through in the future. And one new piece of work that just came in yesterday is the sink, the overboard drain under the galley sink. So the galley sink is like a bowl, and the hose comes out the bottom, and it goes through a valve at the bottom of the boat. And while I was changing the hose out yesterday, it was plainly evident that the overboard valve doesn't even slow water down. So it was like, oh my God, the one thing that I could have spent one more day, you know, replacing while I was in Cancun, and I didn't do it. I didn't do it because the fuel hoses were directly on top of it, and access was very difficult. So it's like, so I'm the dumb shit for that one. But either way, there are boatyards right here in Salt River, and I probably will just take the boat to a local boatyard and get that work done. You know, I would probably rather bring it all the way down to the Dominican Republic and get the work done there because it'll be cheaper. But that means a sailing around with only one thin layer of hose between me and the open sea, and that's a flooding the boat issue. It'll come in probably as fast as the bilge pumps can pump out, and you know, your battery only lasts for so long if the bilge pump's always running. So that's an end of life issue, frankly, and I got to get that fixed. So we'll add that to the scope, and so I've got to look at my budget and look at the work I wanted to do and make sure that when I add one haul out, probably a $2,000 total job, probably maybe less, I can come in less than that. It should only be a day-long job. Haul it out, fix a valve, and put it back in. And buying new sails is going to be, it's probably going to hit me at $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 total by the time I'm done paying. So I got to balance that against my budget for the work I wanted to do and just see what decisions I have to make. Other than that, we're all good. I'm going to go out and enjoy a beer with my friends today, and tomorrow I'm going to hit it. So next thing, I think the genoa is coming down, and then I've got to get busy with online ordering and buy some stuff that has to be delivered because I don't have a car. So delivery is how I'm going to live and die here. So with that said, it's a lot to say. If you have any comments, please let me know and share them with everybody. So I appreciate it, guys. Take care.